It's a great day, sports world. What's up to all the sports lovers, haters, addicts, and fanatics out there? This is Larry Patterson coming to you for GT365. That's Game Time 365 Sports, live here on the GTSN. That's the Game Time Sports Network. And we wrapping up the AFC West today with the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning, defending AFC champions. Currently been the leader of the AFC West for like the past was it 5 years, 4 or 5 years, 5 years, I think. They started out 8-1 last year. They went 6-1 in the final 7 games and brought their record to 14-2. They beat the Browns in the divisional round 22-17 in a game they could have lost. Beat the Bills in the championship round 38-24. I thought it was going to be a little bit more competitive, but they got the job done. And then they lost. They ran into Tampa Bay, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, losing to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 31-9 in a game where the Buccaneers just pass rushed their way to a Super Bowl ring. Tom Brady too, but most importantly, they had Patrick Mahomes just basically just running for his life out there. That figures to change this year. This team has made 6 straight postseason appearances, and that's the most since the 90-95 season. They tied that, but they look to pass that this year, going for 7 straight postseason appearances, and I think they will. Led by Patrick Mahomes. This team ranked first, of course, in last year as far as passing offense, over 4,800 yards accumulated, 4,854 to be exact, in the pass department, with 2 weapons there in Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. Man, you just can't go wrong with it. As long as they stay healthy, this team should still be contending, and deep postseason success, championship or Super Bowl. I think they will be there. As far as the run game, ranked 16th, 1,799 yards accumulated. That was like in the middle of the pack. Third downs, this team was ranked 3rd. On 4th downs, this team was ranked 18th, and in the red zone, they were ranked 14th. Kind of surprising considering like all the scoring that they do. But man, this team is since even before Patrick Mahomes got there, like you had the 2 years of Alex Smith. When they took over, basically when they took over the AFC West, this team was hard to beat then. Even in 2014, 2015, like that year. The last time that the Denver Broncos beat the Kansas City Chiefs, they were pretty tough then. They were pretty tough out then. They still will continue to be now. Much respect to them. With that being said, Patrick Mahomes, man, and granted the fact I get to see Patrick Mahomes this year, cross my heart. I hope no injuries happen. I think they play the Washington football team. I want to say week 6, something like that. But hopefully I get to go see Patrick Mahomes this year. When he came on the scene in 2017, he didn't play the whole season because Alex Smith was still there. But he played the last game, and just so happened that was against Denver. In 2017, he had 284 yards that he threw for, and I think that game went into overtime. After that, 2018 was his first season at the helm, and he stepped on the gas and he never looked back, rightfully so. He threw for 5,097 yards, 50 touchdowns. As a second-year player, that is amazing. In 2019, he threw for 4,031 yards, 26 touchdowns. That's the year that they went to the Super Bowl. That's the year that they actually won the Super Bowl. And in 2020, last year, 4,780 yards. That's even with missing a game or two. I think he just missed a game. But 4,740 yards, 38 touchdowns. The kid is special. He's amazing, man. It's just, I mean, he doesn't really need that much, uh, uh, you know, praises to him because it's already been given to him. But in the postseason as well, he's been great. In 2018, he in the postseason alone, 573 yards, 3 touchdowns. 2019, his championship year, he threw for 901 yards and 10 touchdowns. And in 2020, last year, 850 yards and 4 touchdowns. So 2 straight Super Bowl appearances. It could be a third. Who knows? But that I just had to get that across because he is one of those special players. Let's talk about the key departures on this team. Bashar Breeland, one of the star cornerbacks, he left. Mike Remmers, he left. Anthony Sherman retired. To no passing on a depth pass rusher. Sammy Watkins, wide receiver, and then Eric Fisher, who tore his Achilles. I think in the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. I want to say the Super Bowl. No, I want to say AFC Championship game. He tore his Achilles. Currently, he's on the Colts roster recovering right now. And hopefully he has a speedy recovery off that. Key additions: Jerron Reed, defensive tackle from Seattle. Blake Bell, who was over at Kansas City in 2019. He went to Dallas for a year. Now he's back at Kansas City. Austin Blythe, a guard. Michael Burton, who came from New Orleans. So Anthony Sherman's out. You bring Michael Burton in, who was ranked, I want to say, 4 out of 12 fullbacks, according to PFF in the league. Orlando Brown Jr., who they traded for. So that adds some much needed strength up front. You also added Joe Tooney. I want to say the 4th ranked guard, according to PFF. And he signed him a big monster contract in the offseason. Kyle Long, who spent, I want to say, a couple years away from the game. He's back, but he's currently injured right now. Jerick McKinnon, a nice little speedster, coming over from San Francisco, and then Mike Hughes coming over. So those are your key additions. We're going to start with this offense real quick. Of course, Patrick Mahomes, Chad Henne. He played 3 games. He started 1. He went 28 of 38, 248 yards and 2 touchdowns in that one game that he did start. He's stepping into year 4. He's stepping into year 14. And he does quite well in the Andy Reid system. You also got Shane Buechele, who's a rookie. So that rounds out your quarterback room. In the running back room, led by Clyde Edwards-Helaire, going into year number 2. Now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he played 13 games last year. When he burst on the scene last year, I was like, even in his first game against Houston in the opener, he was pretty efficient, he looked pretty good. I think he scored a couple touchdowns in that game. A nice speedster out of LSU, and man, you could not get no better than that. I think that when they picked him, I'm like, yo, they're gonna really go the distance this year. Don't have the pass numbers in front of me, but he had 181 carries for 803 yards, 4 touchdowns, and averaged 4.4 yards per carry. Now, imagine if he had played the other 3 games, and he probably would have went over 1,000 yards. His pass yards, I know he catches the ball too. I don't have that in front of me, but just know that he is one of my players that I'm watching this year, and they needed that kind of back. He just fits them so well. Derek Gore going to his first year also. You got Jerick McKinnon coming over from San Francisco. Last year, he played 16 games. He started 4, 81 carries, 319 yards, 5 touchdowns. Going into year number 8, 2017 was his best year. He played 16 games. He started 1. He had 150 carries, 570 yards, and 3 touchdowns in that season. Darrell Williams, who's been a good backup. He played 16 games last year, 39 carries, 169 yards, 1 touchdown, 4.3 yards per carry. He also had 26 targets, 18 catches, 116 yards. So he's one of those players that you're not going to get the same results out of him every week, considering what's in front of him. But he could have a big game in week 3 and then come back around in week 8 and might come around in week 15, and then you won't see him again until probably like the postseason or something like that. So he has that kind of effect. Michael Burton played 15 games last year. He started 4, had 7 carries, 18 yards, 4 targets, 4 receptions, 28 yards. Fullbacks don't really get that much love, but he was ranked 4th amongst 12 fullbacks. So that kind of puts him up there. In the wide receiver position, led by Mr. Tyreek Hill. And Mr. Hill, 6-time Pro Bowler. In 2017, he burst on the scene. 105 targets, 75 catches, 1,183 yards. Actually, I think he was picked before that, but I'm counting like the big number years. But because I think probably 2016, he didn't have, his numbers weren't really all that. I think he was probably a backup then. But he had 7 touchdowns, 1,183 yards, 75 catches, 105 targets. That was in 2017. 2018, 137 targets, 87 catches, 1,479 yards, and 12 touchdowns. 2019, 89 targets, 58 catches, 860 yards, and 7 touchdowns. I do believe that was the year he was hurt. And in 2020, 135 targets, 87 catches, 1,276 yards, and 15 touchdowns. That was a career high for him as far as touchdowns. Still one of, I would say, a top 10 wide receiver in this league. Still one of the more efficient wide receivers, good route runners. I remember it was a play. He made so many dynamic plays in this league and during his time. It's crazy. I remember one play, and he played Denver on a Sunday night football. It was last year. It was a Sunday night football game, and AJ Bouye had pretty tight coverage on him, and somehow, some way, when he was on his way to the ground, like the ball was doing some bouncy type shit, and like he still caught the ball. They called it back, which it literally should have been a touchdown, but it's just athletic, just the athletic ability, I don't know if it's luck, but man, these guys really are special on all parts of the ball, whether it's offensively, defensively, not so much, but they had their plays too. But offensively, man, this team is just, they're hard to beat. Like, how can you beat them? So then there's Tyreek Hill. Miko Harmon is one of the players that I'm looking at to step up this year. He had 62 targets, 41 catches, 560 yards, and 4 touchdowns. The year before that, I think he was a rookie, 26 catches. He was targeted 41 times, 538 yards. He also does work in the punt game, in the punt return game, 25 returns, 1 touchdown off 176 yards. So you look for him to do work in the punt return team, special teams, as well as the regular offensive work that he does. You also got guys going to his second year: Garrick Dieter, Maurice French, Dorrance Fountain going to his 3rd year, Marcus Kemp going to his 4th year, Cornell Powell is a rookie, and then you got Byron Pringle, who in 2019 had 16 targets, 12 catches, 170 yards, 1 touchdown. Last year, 17 targets, 13 catches, 160 yards, and 1 touchdown. Kind of hard to kind of get the production out of him when you got a Tyreek Hill and a Travis Kelce getting most of those targets. But just in case you need that guy that can catch that ball in those 3rd downs and move the needle and hey, it's all good. He also does work in the uh, in the kick return game too. He had 10 kick returns, 1 touchdown off 324 yards. So he definitely does his work there. Demarcus Robinson, who's still there, played 16 games. He started 9. He had a career high 59 targets, 45 catches, 466 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So also look forward to him being another threat, which they are. So that's your wide receiver room, tight end room. As I spoke on Travis Kelce, 6 straight seasons of 100 targets, 5 straight seasons of 1,000 yards. The boy's putting in work. Arguably, the best tight end in the game. Him and George Kittle was kind of like up here. George Kittle from the San Francisco 49ers, but I think Kelce kind of like overtook that, considering the fact that George Kittle was often injured. But even before George Kittle was injured, I still think Travis Kelce kind of had that number on him, considering the other 3 years of 1,000 yards. Like, man, that's tremendous. And straight through, not missing no time, none of that. Like, he's a beast. 2016, he's a 6-time Pro Bowler, by the way. 2016, 117 targets. He didn't bust on the scene in 2016, but this where he just started to kind of like heat up. 2016, 117 targets, 85 catches at 1,125 yards and 4 touchdowns. In 2017, 122 targets, 83 catches, 1,038 yards, 8 touchdowns. 2018, 150 targets. That was his highest. 103 catches, 1,336 yards, and 10 touchdowns. 2019, he had 136 targets, 97 catches, 1,229 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And his career high in 2020, 145 targets, 105 receptions, 1,416 yards, and 11 touchdowns. And look for that number to get even bigger this year. So you definitely look out for Travis Kelce this year. I mean, not even a lookout. You already kind of know. You also got Blake Bell, who's on the team, 15 targets, 11 catches, 110 yards last year. Noah Gray, who's a rookie. They had some good things to say about him also. Jody Fortson, going to his second year, is going into the offensive line. Austin Blythe, going to his 6th year. He had a 52 pass block grade and a 74 run block grade. Creed Humphrey, who's a rookie. They've been having some good things to say about him also. Darrell Williams, Nick Allegretti, who had a 54 pass block grade and a 70 run block grade, going to year number 3. Laurent Duvernay Tardif, going to his 7th year now. If you know about him, he opted out last year. I think he did some medical work. I'm not sure if he's a doctor or a nurse or something like that, but he might have been training for it. Or I know he did most of his work to helping out COVID victims and doing all that. So kudos to him. And he's back. He should be back. Yeah, look out for him. Kyle Long, who going to his 8th year, he didn't miss, but he retired, and then he just decided to come back, play with the Chiefs. He's got a leg injury right now, so we'll see if he can start or play week 1, week 2, or whenever. His status right now is uncertain, but we'll see how that goes. Trey Smith is a rookie. Joe Tooney going to his 6th year, a big high-priced guard they got from New England, 73 pass block grade, 70 run block grade, 4th ranked amongst his, I forget how many tackles, how many guards are out there, but he was 4th ranked. I want to say 80. Andrew Wiley, who had a 52 pass block grade and a 51 run block grade, going to year number 4. Orlando Brown, who they got from Baltimore, 77 pass block grade, 73 run block grade. Lucas Niang, going into year number 2. Mike Rimmers, going into year number 9, had a 70 pass block grade and a 69 run block grade. And Prince Tega Wanago, going into year number 2. Didn't play much last year, but he's there. and so that provides some depth for him. That is your offense for the Kansas City Chiefs. Defensively, this team is not known for being a shutdown defense, but guess what? You don't need a shutdown defense to win in this league. When you got an offense that can put up damn near probably 40 some odd points if they wanted to. It's not quite 40 points, but I mean, hey, it could be. But this defense in the past game was ranked 14th over 3,700 yards, 3,774 to be exact. Defensively, 21. They were ranked 21st, 1,954 yards racked up against them. On third downs, they were ranked 17th. On fourth downs, they were ranked 25th. And in the red zone, they were ranked 32nd. Dead last in the league as far as red zone defense. So you get them in the red zone, you can score on them. And that's pretty much the numbers wise for the Kansas City Chiefs defense. Let's get into the defensive line. Led by Frank Clark right now. Frank Clark's facing a suspension. In 2019, he had 8 sacks. In 2020, he had 6. I think the year before he had like double-digit sacks. I don't know if it's 11 or 10 and a half, but I know it was double digits when he was with Seattle. He came over to Kansas City, and the production kind of slipped. The pressures were still there, but right now I'm not sure if he is playing this year, or I know he probably won't be playing the first game. Something about a gun charge. I'm not going to get into all that, but just know that, he still is a part of the team, but I don't know if he will be playing with the team. So once we find out further information about that, you will know. Mike Dana going into year number 2. Austin Edwards also going into year number 2. Damone Harris going into year number 3. Malik Herring is a rookie. Joshua Kendo is a rookie. And Alex Okafor is a name that I'm going to be looking out for. Since you have no Frank Clark, I'm going to look at Alex Okafor. 19 sacks in 2019. 2019, he had 5 sacks. In 2020, he had 3 sacks. So I look for that number to get a little bit better this year. You got on the defensive tackle, you got Chris Jones, 2-time Pro Bowler. He had 36 tackles last year. 7.5 sacks in 2020. 44 pressures. So he can definitely get after the quarterback. In 2019, he had 9 sacks. I think he was like top 5 as amongst his like edge rushers, but he's more of an interior edge rusher. More of an interior pass rusher. But he definitely can get after the quarterback. He's definitely effective. Definitely a great player to watch. Doesn't take any snaps off, man. He's just amazing. Derek Nottie, in 2019, he had 48 tackles. In 2020, he had 47 tackles. Jerron Reed, who's coming over from Seattle, in 2020, he had 6.5 sacks and 38 tackles, 22 pressures also. So that's more pressure getting to the, a player like Jerron Reed coming from Seattle. Now you go into a more of a winning situation. In Seattle, you're not sure, but in Kansas City, you know you're going to win, especially you playing at Arrowhead Stadium. That's a good spot. Very underrated signing right there. So I look for Jerron Reed to do very well in that defense. Kalen Saunders, who played 3 games, he started 1 last year going to year number 3. And then Tershawn Wharton had 2 sacks and 27 tackles and 8 pressures last year. He's stepping into year number 2. As far as linebackers, Nick Bolton, in 2019, he had 103 tackles in Mizzou. In 2020, he had 95. He's a rookie, so we'll see how he does. Omari Cobb going into year number 2. Willie Gay, who played 16 games, he started 8. He had 39 tackles. He's stepping into year number 2. Darius Harris also stepping into year number 2. Anthony Hitchens in 2018, he had 135 tackles. In 2019, he had 88 tackles. And in 2020, he had 78 tackles. He's a former Cowboy. He's a former Super Bowl champion also with the Kansas City Chiefs. So he's one of the leaders on defense also, especially at the linebacker spot. Ben Neiman going to year number 4, 44 tackles in 2020. And then Dorian O'Daniel going to year number 4, 11 games played last year. At the cornerback spot, which is a underrated position. And like I said, their defense isn't shut down, but they definitely can get after the quarterback. And I think with the they don't have that good of a pass rush, but when you got guys like Chris Jones getting after you, it could definitely make the secondary look good. So you got guys like DeAndre Baker, who had a legal situation last year. I think he only played like 2 or 3 games. I think he played in the postseason for them last year. But in 2019, when he was with the Giants, he had 61 tackles, 8 pass deflections. That's the team that drafted him. He had 88 targets, 54 completions, and 61% completion, a 61 completion percentage. So that's pretty decent. I think you put him in this role with this team, he could be even better. So that's a player that I want to watch this year. DiCaprio Bootle, who's a rookie. Rashad Fenton, who's also very underrated cornerback, stepping into year number 3, 35 tackles, 1 interception. He had 58 targets against him, 36 completions, 62%. Mike Hughes played 4 games last year. He started 2, mostly injured throughout his career. In 2018, he played 6 games. He started 2. In 2020, he played 14 games. Let me start that over. Mike Hughes, in 2018, he played 6 games. He started 2. In 2019, he played 14 games. He started 3. And last year, he was injured. So in all 3 of those years, he was often injured. But last year, 4 games he played. He started 2. So hopefully, him stepping into this new Kansas City situation, it could bring some light to it. He's got 4 years under his belt. So we'll see if a new situation can bring more production out of Mike Hughes. Chris Lamon stepping into year number 2. One of my players that I'm going to be watching this year, L'Jarius Sneed, who burst on the scene last year. He had 3 interceptions, 7 pass deflects. He also had 2 sacks, so he can do it all. 41 tackles. He was targeted 52 times, completed against 31 times, and he had a 59 completion percentage. He's definitely stepping into year number 2. He's definitely gonna be one of them players I want to watch. I feel like I got a good feeling out of this kid that he's gonna be one of those top cornerbacks that we're gonna be talking about maybe a year from now, maybe 2 years from now. So look out for that name, L'Jarius Sneed. And then Charvarius Ward. Me and my guy Laquan Copeland had some talks about him because he's a former Cowboy. He had 74 tackles in 2019. He had 51 tackles in 2020, stepping into year number 4. So we'll see how he does. Also in the safety spot, you got led by Tyrann Mathieu in 2019. And I'm just only doing when he came to the Chiefs because obviously he played with Houston. He played with Arizona. He was drafted by Arizona. He played with Houston for a year. In 2019, he came over to Kansas City. He had 75 tackles, 12 pass deflections, 4 interceptions, targeted 80 times, 45 completions against him, 56 completion percentage. He was already one of the top safeties in his league. He come over to Kansas City. He got numbers like that. 2020 last year, he had 62 tackles, 9 pass deflections, 6 interceptions, 62 targets, 42 completions against him at a 62 percentage. That is very good. He hits hard. He's all over the place. Sideline to sideline. You cannot say anything better about the Honey Badger. Much respect to him. So that leads your players in the back end. You also got Harrison Bucker. Not Harrison Bucker. My bad. You also got Daniel Sorensen. Daniel Sorensen, who had a career-high 91 tackles, 5 pass deflects, 2 forced fumbles. He had 64 blitzes last year. That's amazing. I remember Harrison. Why do I keep saying Harrison? I remember Daniel Sorensen had it was a interception return It was in a game against Denver, and he returned it to the house. I believe that was a game that it snowed. Um, but he's been a very, very effective safety in this league. Um, Zane Anderson's a rookie. Devon Key is a rookie. And then you got Juan Thornhill, who burst on the scene. He's stepping into his third year out of UVA. He had 4 interceptions in 2 years, 8 pass deflections, 58 tackles in 2019. He had 41 tackles in 2020, 46 completion percentage against him in 2019, and a 64 completion percentage against him in 2020. I believe one of those years he might have been hurt too. Monty Watts, that rounds off the safety position. 17 tackles the last 2 years each. So 17 tackles each. A nice, good depth piece for him. He might play special teams as well. And then and that rounds off your defense. At the special team spot, Harrison Butker, who I said his name at least by a good 3-4 times before even getting to him. Harrison Butker, fifth year in the league. Last year, he in the teens, he was 2 for 2. Inside the 20s, he was 7 for 7. Inside the 30, he was 9 for 9. Inside the 40s, he was 3 for 5. And 50 plus, he was 4 for 4. That puts his total at 25 and 27. 25 or 27 as far as field goals, 92.6%. And as far as extra points, he was 48 for 54 at an 88.9%. Harrison Butker's, he's got to be one of the top 10 kickers in this league. I know last year I had this thing week to week where I wasn't consistent on it, but I plan on being consistent on it this year. The kicker of the week, and he was one of them. I think that was the game against Miami that he won in. So kudos to Harrison Butker. It was one of those games where he had a pretty big game, but he's gonna be one of those players, one of those kickers to watch out for this year. Also, this team only has 6 draft picks. And round 2, because they traded the first round pick for Orlando Brown. In round 2, they've got Nick Bolton, linebacker out of Missouri. Round 2, they got Creed Humphrey, center out of Oklahoma. Round 4, they got Joshua Kando, defensive end out of Florida State. Round 5, they drafted Noah Gray, tight end out of Duke, who also do some work too. Nice little underrated pick right there. In round 5, you got Cornell Powell, wide receiver out of Clemson. And then round 6, you got Trey Smith, guard out of Tennessee. So they always seem to try to stack the deck a little bit to keep that dynasty going. I think they got a dynasty going, or at least producing. Not yet, but it's coming up. As long as they continue to stay healthy and whatnot. But don't forget, you also got teams like the Chargers on the rise. The Raiders have a dynamic offense as well. They just have to get their defense right. And then Denver's on the rise as well, too, as long as they get their quarterback situation straight. The defense is definitely something to look at. But we'll see how the AFC West pans out this year. It should be a very tough division. The first 5 games for this Chiefs squad, they play the Browns week 1, so that should be a very interesting game. A rematch of the AFC divisional round game. They're at home, so that makes it even better. You know, you go into Arrowhead, it's pretty hard to win. Then they're at the Ravens in week 2. They play the Chargers in week 3. They're at Philly in week 4. And then they play the Bills, a rematch of the AFC Championship game in week 5. So that's the Browns, that's the Ravens, that's the Chargers, that's the Eagles, and then there's the Bills. 4 tough matchups right there. So let me know what y'all think about that, man. I think I still see this team probably winning about a good 14, 15 games, depending if everybody stays healthy. You know, every year, no team, no players excluded from that. So we'll see how the Kansas City Chiefs do this year for Game Time 365 Sports. This is Larry Patterson for GT365. That's Game Time 365 Sports. Live here on the GTSN. It's the Game Time Sports Network. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, it's Game Time Sports Network. Go ahead and click that sub button. If you have not liked the Facebook page, it's Game Time Sports Network as well. Go ahead and click that like button for me, man. Till next time.